Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zach. Back in the door there, that's my dog Winter. This is our home, which is a Sprinter van named Gertie. She's a 2019 170-inch extended 4x4 Sprinter. I have her on some 33s, new suspension, new bumper, all interior built by me. Great electrical system and everything. If you want to hear about that, go check out my van tour. I'll link it in the little tab somewhere and down below. And today, I'm going to get straight to the topic of the video. How do I stay cool in the summer or in the desert or in Florida, in the Florida Keys and all these places in this big black van? Because everybody knows that if you're in a black vehicle in the sun, it gets really hot. Everybody sat on some leather seats with some bare skin, or touched a seatbelt or a key or a dash, or had something explode, stuff like that in a black vehicle, or heard of it. And really, there's no difference here with Gertie, except she's fully insulated with wool insulation, and then I made a point of putting wood everywhere to cover all of the metal, because metal really radiates heat, so it soaks it in on the outside and radiates it to the inside, and the wool has really helped with that. So that's some of the construction stuff I put in, and then there's some things I learned along the way that I'll fill you in on when we go inside to talk about how I prevent, or how I stay cool. So we'll start at the front of the van here. You can see behind me, if the face track will cooperate. There we go. You can see behind me, I have the shiny cover there. Makes a huge difference. I actually have another full window privacy cover up there as well that's insulated. That's behind the shiny one and propped up against the window. And the black cover I have, the privacy blackout one, if I reach underneath the shiny one, it's usually pretty cool, and then on the back side it's completely cool where that reflective window cover is. So that thing's a huge bonus. I also cover up my windows. This one on this side is uncovered because it's not on the sunny side, as you can see. But if I open this one, you can see through my window, and then if you go look in the back, it's just black because that window's covered on the far side there. Thanks, camera. Good look. So I keep the sunward side one covered, and then I keep both of them open. And on the inside of the cab, I actually have my curtains down, and they isolate the cab from the rest of the van. Oops, I'm gonna regret that. I have my curtains, you can see the white side goes to the back and the black side to the front. So I have both the front windows rolled down partially, about that much, and then I have my curtain there isolating the front, the cab, which is almost always the hottest place in the van, from the back of the van. So it can both get cross ventilation through here. The wind can actually get under the cover and go across. It can cross ventilate, and it can also ventilate, the hotter air can rise and get out of there. So that makes a huge difference, isolating this from the back of the van. I lose my swivel chair until the evening if I want to use it, but it really pays off keeping the van cool all day when I'm hanging out at the vehicle. All right, so that covers what I do at the front. What I do on this back side here is basically nothing. Oh, I forgot to cover. So one of the most important things I found is to face the right direction. You need to either face north or face south, and by face I mean the front of the vehicle. Right now I have it pointing south. The main reason is I can isolate the cab, but I can't isolate the bed area as easily, so it's better to have that face the sun. Also, if it's facing the sun, I get about 6 hours of sun on this side, and then about 6 hours of sun on the other side. The front of the van is the only part that gets sun the whole day, and then the back, which I have open, never gets any sun at all. So This side is warm in the morning, which is good because it warms me up and it warms the van up, and then I can open the other door, which is nice and cool and wonderful. I really like mornings in the desert because it warms up pretty quick, and then you can enjoy the cool temperatures and all the way up to the nice warm temperatures all in one go. The desert's lovely. I enjoy it. So this side gets warm in the morning, warms up the van, good to go. When it starts to get warm, I will open the back doors. So right now you can see I have that door on that side and the sun's coming from that side. So that creates shadow on this side. So I can come over here in the shade. It's not perfect right now because the sun's so low, but you kind of get the idea. And then in the morning, instead of having this door kind of folded all the way back to hopefully not catch the wind, I would have it this way, sticking straight back from the van to keep this area here as cool as possible. So this one is positioned that way to keep the sun from getting on that side. You can see the reflection of the sun. But I keep those open all day. Since they're facing north and the sun is not getting that high in the sky this early in the year, since it's March, late March, I get that whole area free of sunlight, which allows for some good airflow. The other thing I do is I leave this door open. With this door open, even this small crack that I have it will funnel the air all the way through, and it keeps the van nice and cool. Come back to me, there we go. So it keeps the van nice and cool with that constant funneling of air. And that really helps me a lot. I also have 3 little vent windows. I have 2 on the driver's side because I don't have a big window or that door. There we go. So put the camera down there. I have this guy wide open. The air can go straight through that. I have this one closed probably because I had it closed for the morning and I usually forget about that window. In the morning, all the sun's hitting that, so I just left it closed. And this one back here is closed too, so I'm just kind of turning it into a simple funnel by closing these, leaving these back windows closed. Those are how I keep cool when I can't have everything open, like at night or if I'm in a public place. Then I use those windows. So I have one on either side of the bed. So I got one right here, up. There we go. I got one right here, just slides half of that open. And I have one on each side so I can have the fan on the roof pull air straight up, and then that'll create a nice wind tunnel. I have this other one here by my work area. That one I have so that if I'm working at night and I don't want to pull too much air in, I can just get a nice cross breeze in so that I'm cooler where I'm sitting. Another thing I did is I went to some truck stops and got those truck stop fans that you just clip on, and then they plug into the lighter 12-volt plug in the vehicle. So I have 2 of those, and when it's humid out, you want to move a lot of air. So fan on full exhaust, and then I had those blowing air all over inside the van, and that made a huge difference in my comfort level and the humidity. When it's hot and dry, it's not as oppressive, so you can get in the shade, which is why I create a lot of shade with the van, and then I only heat one side at a time. If I'm just heating one small end all day, it stays cool, but if I had this big end facing south right now, the van would be hot and sweaty all day. If I had the other side facing south, I can kind of get away with that because I have the awning, so I'll talk about the awning in a second. But the awning protects that whole side from sun, and that's important because that side has my water tank in it. And I don't want my water to be boiling all the time. I actually prefer to have the water cool so that I can have cool drinks all the time, and it takes less time to cool down my water that I keep in jugs in there. So since I've mentioned it twice, that north-south facing or south-north facing, whichever way you want to look at it, is really important for keeping cool in the desert, especially in a black van. So what I do strategically, like I was saying, is I want this to warm up in the morning because I can't really protect it. On the other side, I have my awning, which I can use to protect it. And I do that in the late afternoon because that's when I don't want the heat. Right here behind my wheel, is my water tank. It's getting hit with sun right now, so it will warm up a bit, but that's because I can't drop my awning low enough. And at a certain point, I need my awning in more than I need it all the way out. And I'll talk about that in a second as well, because that has to do with wind. So using this awning here, I'll step out so you can see the whole thing. So using that awning there, that bad boy keeps this whole side of the van cool. So it's kind of a cheat. That way I'm not radiating all that heat and absorbing all that heat into the van. So it works really good for these hot days where the sun's just beating down. But that sun's really good for my solar, so I'm not really complaining, but it's almost 90 degrees out here, so it is a pretty hot day. So my awning is actually about 2/3 of the way out, and then I have it strapped with a tire, 2 bottles of washer fluid. On the other side, I have a bottle of DEF, which is 2.5 gallons. So that's probably about 20 pounds, give or take. And then it's hooked, also tied to my table, which has my grill on it and a rock. So it shouldn't go anywhere. It'd take a pretty extreme wind, and at that point, I probably have bigger issues. But that thing is really key, especially since I have 6 hours of sun coming onto this side. It also keeps my door and my fridge protected a little bit from the heat as well. And like I said, I have covers for all the windows, and that is no different for this one here. So I think that's all the measures that I have outside for keeping cool for the van. I'm gonna show you the trailer really quick. It's pretty basic on the trailer. If I can, or if I need to, I'll just open the back door here, and then on the roof, it has one of those little wedge vents that goes up, and then that just lets the air circulate out of there. If it doesn't need to be blisteringly hot in there, I'd prefer it isn't. Right now with the sun, it's probably getting pretty warm. So some of the design features on the outside, my solar panels were put over my bed on purpose to keep my bed from being a hot area of the van. That's about it on the outside. But also with the cab, I want to point out that above the cab, this area here of metal gets sun all day. Almost anywhere you're parked, it gets sun. So that gets really hot. So on the inside, I'm going to transition to the inside now. This was supposed to be a 5-minute video, so sorry it's being a little long-winded, but there's a lot of little tips I want to include. So here's my curtain on the inside, that's separating. And then also part of the construction, I noticed I originally built this shelf without a door, and it was always super, super hot up there. So when I did my last renovation, I built a door, and like you could probably, during the middle of the day, you could keep coffee warm in there. It gets really, really hot. But because there's a door there, that heat doesn't transfer to the rest of the van. Also my roof, my ceiling has 1/2-inch thick wood, and then it's got wood across each of the things to isolate it from the roof of the van. And then it has, between this and the metal, there's 2 layers of sheep's wool, so 2 R7 bats, so approximately R14 worth of wool up there. And it made a huge difference when I doubled that wool. It used to get hot basically every summer day. The roof would get really hot, and now it doesn't. The other thing that my construction has is I have these all the way along the top behind me and back over the bed on the side that gets the hottest, that I can't protect. I have all my overhead shelving there, and then I also put this big thing of storage. It's probably, it's about 4.5 feet wide. So I put that there, which keeps the heat inside these cabinets, which isn't great for the electronics in there, but electronics always get hot, and it doesn't get extremely hot in there, but it keeps all that heat away from me. And conversely, when it's cold out, it keeps the cold away from me. Same idea. My food does get warm up here because this is where I store almost all my food, but it's better than having the heat in the van. So every bit of wall that you kind of cover extra will keep the heat out. And here's my window cover. So I have this window cover here, and that serves to keep the cool out and the heat out. So if I didn't have my awning out, that would be a huge improvement over just having the glass right there, which just lets a lot more heat in. So even the backs of this insulated thing isn't that warm compared to what the glass is on the other side. I also have my famous ugly curtains here. Those work a lot. The least amount of sun that you can let in, the better. But when it's a really hot sunny day, just a few doors open lets in enough sun to light the whole van. But how I specifically stay cool, this hat, I can get it wet and it'll keep me cool for a good chunk of the day. It's also, since it's this straw or grass or whatever they make it out of, reeds, it'll tighten up when I get it wet, so I can actually reshape it. Like if it starts to slide down my head, it's too stretched out, I can do that and it improves it. Cotton, if you're too hot, get a cotton t-shirt wet. It'll cool you right off. Cotton actually loses 80% of its property to keep you warm when it's wet, versus like a synthetic like fleece. Fleece retains 80%, it only loses 20%. So if you got a cotton shirt, just get it wet and put it on. Just get a wet t-shirt, put it on, boom, nice and cool out in the thing, out in the desert. So that, and then winter, what I like to do with Winnie is I have the outside hose, so I'll just get her back wet and her neck wet, just like I would for me. And then she stays a lot cooler. She basically immediately stops panting and it can actually do some exercise in the sun. She likes to lay in the sun, but I have to kind of manage her temperature, because if she gets too hot, it's a lot harder to cool her down out here than it is to just keep water in her. But she drinks probably about 3 to 4 times as much water as do I when we're out here. It's crazy to watch how fast it goes down in my 25-gallon tank just from us drinking out of it. The final point I want to make though is if you're out in the desert, you just have to accept there's a little bit of discomfort that comes with that. It's either going to be hot, or it's going to be windy, or there's going to be floods going on. The desert is a really dynamic place, and it's almost always hot and dry. So if you can understand that you're going to have some discomfort and you're going to have to acclimatize to a certain level if you don't have AC like I don't. An auxiliary AC, I have AC from the cab, so if there's an emergency, I can close up the whole van and turn the AC on full, and it'll actually cool that whole space. Even when it's 90 degrees outside, I can get it down to 70. So it's got an impressive cooling system, but in general, it's not really worth the diesel for me and the wear and tear on the engine. And I just acclimatize, just deal with, embrace the suck as a military term, I think, but it kind of says if it's going to be a little bit hot and dry, just appreciate the fact that you don't have to wear a bunch of clothes. If it's going to be cold, appreciate the fact that you're not sweating and you get to see, snow, hopefully, if it's cold. So in certain environments, you're going to deal with certain things, and you're also going to have certain advantages. Enjoy the advantages, move past the disadvantages, acclimatize, and as they say, when in Rome. So thanks for tuning into this video. Turned out to be a lot longer than I thought. Hopefully it's been interesting to you. That's how I keep cool in my black van in the sun. It's about 90 degrees today. Yes, it's a little hot and I'm drinking a lot of water, but it's not uncomfortable. I got about an hour and a half of sunlight left, so I'm actually going to go hop on my motorcycle, Giselle there, and go for a ride as the sun goes down, as it cools down, and it's also the best lighting. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to learn more about my van life adventures, and hit the like button if you got something out of this video, and we'll see you down the road.
If you feel it, just dance along, dance along, dance along. Yeah. If you feel it, just dance along. Got to keep the feeling